They thought she didn't belong at the shooting range. A simple woman with an old rifle that looked ready to fall apart. The crowd mocked her, laughed at her, and even the champion himself dismissed her. But when she pulled the trigger for the first time, silence fell. And by the end of the day, she had broken a record no one thought could ever be touched. The shooting range was alive with swagger. Dust kicked up under heavy boots, brass casings glittered under the sun, and sharp cracks of rifles echoed across the valley. Men in camouflage vests and tactical gloves slapped each other on the back, trading war stories about their accuracy. Into this storm of confidence walked a woman so ordinary she might have been invisible. Her hair was tied in a neat bun, her cardigan plain, her sneakers worn at the edges. No sleek rifle case dangled from her hands. Only a modest leather bag hung from her shoulder. She paused at the gate, taking in the spectacle, then walked forward with quiet steps. Heads turned, but not out of respect. A few men snickered, nudging each other. "What's she doing here?" one whispered. Another grinned. "Maybe she's lost. This isn't a knitting club." But she didn't flinch. Her eyes swept across the range with a calm, unreadable gaze, as if she had seen all of this before, and more. At the registration counter, the clerk barely looked up from his clipboard. His tone was dismissive, bored. "Ma'am, this session is for advanced shooters only. You might want to come back on beginner's day." The shooters behind her burst into muffled laughter. One leaned close to his friend and whispered, "I bet she won't even hit the paper." Another added louder, "Careful, she might drop the gun when it kicks back." The woman didn't argue. Instead, she reached for the pen, signed her name with steady strokes, and handed the form back. Her voice was soft, polite. "Thank you." Then she walked toward the firing lanes, ignoring the laughter that trailed behind her like a shadow. It was as though she knew something they didn't. At the farthest lane stood the reason everyone had gathered. The reigning champion. He wore a fitted black shirt and ear protection, his stance wide and commanding. His rifle gleamed, a customized masterpiece worth more than most people's cars. Each time he fired, the target reeled back with a perfect strike. Applause followed like clockwork. He smiled, nodding like a king addressing his subjects. When he noticed the simple woman setting up 2 lanes away, his smile twisted into a smirk. He leaned his rifle on the bench and called out, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Careful there, Grandma! These rifles don't fire knitting needles." The crowd erupted in laughter. Even the clerk chuckled from his booth. The woman didn't answer. She simply unzipped her modest bag and began setting up her weapon. Unlike the others, she didn't show off her equipment. There was no sleek black case, no shiny attachments. She lifted an older rifle, its wood slightly scratched, its barrel plain. To outsiders, it looked outdated, outclassed. But the way she handled it was different. Every motion was precise, practiced. She checked the barrel, adjusted the sights, loaded the magazine with smooth, confident hands. Her breathing slowed, her shoulders dropped, her eyes narrowed into focus. Around her, men adjusted expensive scopes and bragged about range distances. She ignored it all. In her world, there was only her rifle, her breath, and the target. For the first time, a hush seemed to fall around her station, as though the rifle itself demanded silence. The champion raised his rifle again, blasting through another perfect round. Applause thundered. Other shooters followed, peppering their targets with near misses and scattered shots. The air filled with smoke, gunpowder, and the clatter of shells on concrete. All the while, the simple woman stood ready, unmoving. She raised her rifle, aligning the sight with the distant bullseye. Some men behind her snickered again. "Watch this," one whispered. "She'll probably miss the whole board." The champion, glancing sideways, smirked again and muttered, "This should be good." She inhaled slowly, exhaled, and squeezed the trigger. The crack split the air like thunder. For a moment, no one breathed. A small cloud of dust swirled around the target. Then the red light flashed. Dead center bullseye, gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone dropped their earmuffs in shock. The laughter stopped instantly. The woman didn't celebrate. She didn't even smile. She simply reloaded with the same calm precision, her eyes never leaving the target. The silence quickly broke into murmurs. "Beginner's luck," one man whispered, shaking his head. Another crossed his arms, muttering, "Anyone can hit one bullseye." The champion forced a laugh. "Fluke," he said loudly, but there was a tightness in his jaw, a flicker of unease in his eyes. He picked up his rifle, determined to reclaim the spotlight, but the crowd's focus had shifted. Their eyes were on the simple woman, waiting to see if she could do it again. She raised her rifle once more, slow and deliberate. Her finger tightened on the trigger. Another crack tore through the air. When the dust cleared, another bullseye. Perfect. This time, the murmurs turned into stunned silence. People leaned forward, eyes wide, mouths half open. She fired again. Another perfect shot, and again another. Each hit struck like a hammer against the champion's pride. His smirk faded. His knuckles tightened around his rifle. And the woman? She remained utterly calm, as though she had expected this all along. The champion wiped sweat from his forehead, disguising it as a casual stretch. But the truth was written on his face: fear. His reputation, his pride, his image, all of it hung in the balance against this unknown woman with an old rifle. He lined up his next shot, determined to silence the whispers. Crack! The bullet hit close to center, but not perfect. The crowd clapped politely, though their eyes weren't on him anymore. They were locked on her. "Your turn, Grandma," he muttered, his voice straining. She didn't answer. Her silence stung worse than any insult. She exhaled slowly, her entire body moving as one with her rifle. Crack! Another bullseye! Reload! Crack! Another! Reload! Crack! Again. By now, her target was a single ragged hole, perfectly centered. The crowd gasped with every shot, the disbelief turning into awe. A man in the back whispered, "This isn't luck!" "That's years of training." "Who is she?" The champion's fans stopped cheering altogether. Some even began stepping closer to her lane, abandoning him completely. Every sound in the range faded. The hum of the air vents, the clicking of safeties, the chatter of bystanders. The only sound that mattered now was the sharp crack of her rifle. Each bullet was a hammer blow, shattering the fragile confidence of the champion. He fired again, but his shot strayed, clipping the edge of the bullseye. The silence from the crowd told him everything. He had lost them. He looked over at her, expecting her to gloat. But she didn't. Her expression was unchanged, calm, focused, unbothered. That quiet dignity cut deeper than mockery. The range clerk, now holding the digital scoreboard, suddenly froze. His eyes widened. "Wait," he whispered. "She's one shot away." From breaking the range record, the crowd gasped in unison. The record belonged to the very champion standing beside her, dozens of perfect shots in a row. He had said it years ago and defended it ever since. Now this nobody was about to surpass him, and she hadn't even broken a sweat. The champion's face burned red. "Not on my watch," he growled, firing another round in desperation. The shot landed, off-center. Gasps and murmurs followed. His legend was crumbling before his own eyes, all eyes locked on her. She reloaded one last time, sliding the round into place with steady hands. The champion leaned closer, whispering harshly, "Miss this, and they'll forget you ever stepped foot here." She didn't flinch. She didn't even glance at him. Her breathing slowed. Her finger tightened. Crack! The screen blinked, registering the shot. Then it flashed red with a siren sound. New record set. The crowd erupted in cheers. People shouted, clapped, even stomped their feet. The champion stumbled back, staring in disbelief as the scoreboard showed her flawless string of bullseyes. People swarmed her lane, praising her, asking her name, begging to shake her hand. The same men who laughed earlier now looked at her with reverence. One whispered, "She's no amateur. Look at that discipline. She's trained." Another asked, "Are you military? Law enforcement? Special forces?" She finally spoke, her voice calm, almost soft. "I don't need a title. I just came here to shoot." Her words silenced them, but in that silence was awe. She had just destroyed the champion without bragging, without anger, only pure, undeniable skill. The champion stood frozen, his hands trembling. For years he had basked in glory, mocking challengers, feeding his ego. Now, stripped of respect, he looked smaller than ever. No one clapped for him. No one even looked his way. His record was gone. His pride shattered. The woman calmly packed her rifle into its old case, slung the strap over her shoulder, and walked past the crowd. They parted for her like she was royalty. At the door, she paused, turning back only once. Her eyes met the champion's, cold, steady, unshaken. She didn't speak a word. She didn't need to. When she stepped outside, the entire range was still buzzing with what they had just witnessed. They would talk about her for years. The nameless woman who came in quietly was mocked openly and left as a living legend.